We are living in an era where life expectancy is 100 years. I need to enjoy my second half. Hey, housekeeper, wash and iron this. My husband chuckled, tossing his shirt in my direction as he walked through the door. It was rare for him to come home early for dinner. I sighed, catching the shirt midair. But there's nothing good for me. What's all this? Did someone say something to you? It's nothing new for my husband to treat me like a housekeeper, but it still stings when he says it so bluntly. However, it's too late to change him, so I swallowed my discomfort. Reeking of alcohol, my husband slumped into a chair at the dining table. Oh, it was the boss. We had a company party today, and he said that life is 100 years, so 50 is just the halfway point. I see, so it was the company's boss who planted that idea. My husband casually started picking at my dinner as he continued talking. Hey, housekeeper, I need more booze and some snacks. I had planned on having a simple meal since our daughter was working late and wouldn't be home. It seemed like my dinner would vanish in an instant. Could you please not eat that? I barely protested, but he ignored me. Resigned, I began preparing some snacks and extra food for myself. I'm Kayla, a 42-year-old office worker. It's been more than 17 years since I married my husband. Nowadays, he doesn't even call me by my name. He just refers to me as the housekeeper. It feels like from the beginning he wanted a housekeeper, not a loving wife. I met my husband in a bar when he picked me up. At the time, I had recently undergone surgery for a uterine condition and could no longer have children. I had resigned myself to spending the rest of my life alone, focusing on my career. But then my husband approached me while I was out drinking with a friend. His light-hearted and lively personality charmed me, and he assured me it was okay that I couldn't have kids. I was moved, thinking he loved me, but I never imagined he only wanted a housekeeper and had no interest in having children. My husband, a frequent drinker, was out almost every night, so I had no idea he had a grown-up daughter. His daughter, Emily, was 9 years old when I first met him. In his younger years, he had been rambunctious, gotten a girl pregnant at 18, married her, and divorced within a year. The young couple viewed their daughter as a burden, and neither wanted custody. Emily was raised by my in-laws. Despite her complicated circumstances, Emily was a remarkably good and obedient child. When she met me for the first time, she bombarded me with questions. Are you going to be my mom? Will you stay with me forever? Will I have a brother or a sister? Her inquiries came one after another, leaving an indelible mark on my memory. In 4th grade, Emily understood that her family situation was different from that of other children, and she often seemed lonely. It was as though she believed that by my marrying her father, she could finally attain the normal, happy family life she longed for. I'm sorry, Emily. I love children, but due to my illness, I can't have babies. However, I promise to take good care of you, I assured her. I see. Yes, I understand. I'm happy you're my mom just for me. Emily smiled, her expression a mix of relief and pure adorableness. My in-laws had lavished attention on my husband during his upbringing, having had him late in life. However, their love for Emily seemed even greater as she was their only granddaughter. They held little regard for my husband, who treated their beloved granddaughter so poorly. At first, they worried I might follow in the footsteps of my husband's ex-wife and bring harm to Emily. Their feelings toward me were complex, but as elderly caregivers, they needed someone to look after Emily, and in that need, our interests aligned. I grappled with infertility, and in Emily, I saw the opportunity to fulfill my once-abandoned dream of motherhood. It didn't take long for Emily, hungry for affection, and myself, longing for a child, to form a bond akin to that of a real mother and daughter. Over time, my in-laws, initially wary, likely recognized my genuine affection for Emily. Through mutual understanding, a trusting relationship gradually blossomed. Though we were married, my husband quickly lost interest in family life. Once he used to spend his time drinking with friends, but as he aged and found it harder to charm women, he turned to frequenting hostess bars. Recently, there's this young, beautiful hostess who's taken a liking to me, he'd boast excitedly. Yet it was he who was infatuated with these young women. I grew increasingly repulsed by my husband, and my love for him dwindled rapidly. Still, I chose not to divorce him because of Emily. Life with her was filled with sweetness and happiness, and for her sake, I endured my husband's late-night returns, reeking of alcohol and hurling abuse at me. He never bothered to participate in any of Emily's school activities, so outsiders likely assumed we were a single mother and daughter. As I eagerly anticipated Emily's growth, time passed. Just the other day, Emily approached me and said, "Mom, there's someone I want you to meet." Emily was already 26. I knew she had a boyfriend, and his name popped up in our conversations now and then. But the day finally arrived when she wanted to formally introduce him. It was a moment I'd never forget. "Congratulations. I can't believe Emily's reached this age already. You've grown into such a remarkable young woman." I beamed with pride. The once anxious girl I met had blossomed into a confident woman who could share her genuine smile with me. We had truly forged a bond like that of a real mother and daughter. Those were truly joyous days. The man Emily introduced, a young man named Harley, proved to be wonderful. "Harley is an exceptional guy, isn't he? You've chosen well, Emily," I praised, to which Emily's expression turned complex. "He's nothing like my father, is he, Mom? You don't have to endure for my sake anymore. I want you to divorce my father and find happiness too. You're still young," she urged, her words carrying a mixture of concern and determination. That's true. In reality, Emily had long given up on her father and had been encouraging me to divorce him for some time. When we married, Emily wasn't a child, so I didn't quit my job. I've remained a full-time employee and have managed to save up. Frankly, I've been prepared for divorce for quite some time now, but I've struggled to take the final step. As we nibbled on the snacks I had prepared and my husband sipped his whiskey, he suddenly remarked, "Now that Emily's wedding is set, perhaps it's time for us to consider the same." Time for what?" I responded, caught off guard. "I think it's time for us to get a divorce," he announced out of the blue, just before our daughter's wedding. I was stunned. "But wouldn't it be better if both parents attended Emily's wedding?" I queried. "Kayla, you're such a fool. You and Emily aren't related by blood. There's no need for you to attend the wedding," my husband scoffed. "I don't understand. Are you suggesting she should go with her biological mother? I have no clue what she's up to these days," I replied, bewildered. "Then who will accompany her?" "My new partner." "What?" I was utterly perplexed by my husband's words. "She's my girlfriend, a young, charming hostess named Natalie." "Really? Are you sure she's not just doing her job?" "That's what they do with regular customers," I retorted, skepticism lacing my words. "But Natalie is genuinely interested in me. She always says, 'If only you weren't married.' So, I'm planning to propose to her on her birthday next month. Life is a long game, and I've still got more than half of it left. There's plenty of time to enjoy it. Emily would be happier with a young, charming woman like Natalie as her mother, rather than a plain woman like you. And I prefer having a beautiful woman by my side. So, you're no longer necessary. It's time for a divorce. You've done your duties as a housekeeper well, even though you're not even related to our daughter," he declared callously. This man was an utter fool. The shock of his casual divorce announcement paled in comparison to the disgust I felt at his stupidity. Don't be foolish enough to fall for a hostess's sales pitch. And a wedding isn't about flaunting a beautiful woman. What's the significance if the mother who raised the bride isn't present? It doesn't matter if we're not related by blood. You were always just a substitute housekeeper. Don't bother requesting alimony or property division," he spat out coldly. "I don't have any money. I'm aware you've been treating me like a mere housekeeper. I've run out of patience with you. Let's get a divorce. It's time to sever ties with this sorry excuse for a man. I need to begin a new chapter in my life. There's no room for feeling troubled," I declared firmly, finally comprehending my husband's idiocy and feeling appalled by it simultaneously. "Very well, it's settled. I'm not heartless. You can remain here until Natalie moves in, on the condition that you continue to handle the household chores," he conceded. "Fine," I replied tersely. And just like that, our divorce was decided. The following day, I made my way to City Hall to obtain the divorce papers. In the evening, as my husband and I sat down to fill out the paperwork, our daughter returned home from work. When we broke the news of the divorce to her, she appeared perplexed. Her expression seemed torn between feeling relieved for me and pretending to be saddened. "What about my wedding? It would be awkward if both of you were there." "It's okay if only Mom attends, right?" Emily casually remarked, her words stinging, though my husband, oblivious to the hurt, assumed his presence was expected. "Don't fret, Emily. I'll bring the young and charming wife with me," he responded, oblivious to the hurt he caused. Emily discovered her dad's absurd declaration. What? Another wife besides Mom? Dad, have you been unfaithful? I didn't realize, but I guess I assumed no woman would be interested in you. Emily confronted her father sharply. It's not infidelity. Natalie is my main partner. Your mom was always just a maid. I never married her out of love, he retorted callously. That's terrible. I've said it before, but aren't you ashamed to reduce Mom to just a maid? Emily rebuked him. Enough. Why do you keep calling her Mom? She and I are divorced. She's a stranger to you now, he snapped back. What? My daughter was momentarily stunned. Her face flushed bright red as she exclaimed in a fluster, Wait, Dad, don't you remember? What are you talking about? What am I supposed to remember? Mom legally adopted me when you two got married. I was thrilled about it, and I remember it vividly. She's not a stranger to me, Emily explained urgently. My husband seemed puzzled by our daughter's revelation. Adoption? What does that mean? I can't believe it. You've completely forgotten. When you and I got married, I legally adopted Emily as my own daughter. Even without a biological connection, the law recognizes an adopted child as yours, I clarified, dismayed by his ignorance. Even after my explanation, my husband remained clueless. So, that's something that automatically ends when we divorce, right? No, it doesn't. The adoption is a separate legal matter from the divorce. It doesn't terminate unless it's legally revoked, and I have no intention of severing my parental ties with Emily, I clarified firmly. That's correct. I have no plans to sever my relationship with Mom either, Emily affirmed. What? You two must be joking. Nullify that troublesome thing, my husband demanded, clearly frustrated. No matter how much you fuss, it's determined by law. I was considering taking Emily in and raising her if it came to that, I stated firmly to my husband. Emily, aware that even if I divorced him, there was still a way for her to remain with me, encouraged me to pursue divorce for my own happiness. The following day, I submitted the divorce papers, and the divorce was finalized. Yet I still found myself residing in the house that held over 17 years of memories. There was much to sort out. Upon contacting both my parents and my husband's parents, they all supported my decision for divorce. However, my husband's parents emphasized the importance of securing alimony and dividing the property. They also advised selling the house to generate some income. Despite being their own son, they seemed exasperated by his treatment of their granddaughter and me. The following day, during dinner, my husband dropped a bombshell. Hey, I've decided to remarry you, he announced out of the blue. Emily and I exchanged wide-eyed glances. What? I exclaimed, completely taken aback by his sudden declaration. There was no sign of that young and charming Natalie at the bar today, my husband explained curtly. Emily and I exchanged puzzled looks, awaiting further clarification. Turns out, she quit her job and disappeared. My husband continued to repeat variations of the same explanation, but Emily and I began to piece together the situation. It seemed that my husband's belief that he was adored by a young woman was nothing more than a figment of his ego. Emily was the first to burst into laughter, and soon, I couldn't help but join in. Dad, Emily was laughing so hard that tears streamed down her face. Well, is that so? I couldn't help but smile, at a loss for words. Though I had no idea who Natalie was, seeing my husband looking downcast was strangely satisfying. It's no surprise a young girl isn't seriously into a middle-aged guy like you. She probably never even considered you in the first place, Emily chortled, her laughter infectious. Emily's laughter seemed to enrage my husband. Emily, how dare you speak to your father like that? Natalie was going to become your mother. I already have a mother, and I don't need a father, Emily retorted, her laughter fading into a smirk. My daughter didn't back down either, and I struggled to stifle my laughter. What a disgraceful child. Kayla, it's your fault for raising her like this. My husband lashed out, aiming his misplaced anger at me. Mom's not to blame, Emily shot back, swiftly coming to my defense. I couldn't help but smirk at her boldness. Why would I listen to someone who never played a role in raising our child? And when things go wrong, you blame me. You've always treated me like your housekeeper. There's no way I'm remarrying someone like you. I made my stance clear to my oblivious husband, but he remained adamant. But you never said anything until I brought up divorce, did you? You never had any complaints. No, all I have for you were complaints. But for Emily's sake, and because it seemed too troublesome, I didn't pursue divorce, I admitted. Initially, it was because Emily longed for a family with both parents. But after Emily gave up on having a father in her life, I somehow became accustomed to your emotional abuse. Finally, I realized I had to end this toxic relationship. Well then, why don't we remarry for Emily's sake? If you're not around, who's going to take care of me? My husband suggested, attempting to sway me. Dad, I can't believe you. Who would want to marry someone who says that? Emily interjected, her disbelief evident. Ignoring Emily's protests, my husband persisted. Think about it, Kayla. Emily's building a new family. There's no point in us remarrying if Emily is not there, I countered firmly. Aren't you worried about being alone in your old age? If we're married, you'll at least inherit some of my wealth, he argued. I couldn't help but snort at his statement. Wealth? You don't have any savings, do you? I knew all too well that my husband, who spends most of his income recklessly, had no savings to speak of. Even if I don't, my parents do, don't they? They even have their own house, he retorted defensively. As expected, my husband was banking on inheriting from his parents, but he was being overly optimistic. The thing is, your parents are considering leaving their wealth to their granddaughter Emily, not you. They've even been consulting with a tax attorney about it, so I doubt much of the inheritance will come your way. Actually, I was the one who connected them with that tax attorney. I understand my in-laws' intentions quite well. What? My husband's expression suddenly fell. Kayla, you used to love me, didn't you? You won't leave me, will you? I couldn't help but chuckle at my husband's feeble plea. This man truly had a knack for foolishness. Why shouldn't I leave the man who cast me aside, deeming me unnecessary? I don't harbor love for someone who reduces me to a mere housekeeper. Oh, and by the way, your mother advised me to ensure you face the consequences. I'll be hiring a lawyer to pursue alimony and damages. I possess ample evidence of your emotional abuse, so I'm confident I'll prevail. You can settle the debt with the proceeds from selling the house. My husband fell into silence at my words. Dad, if you insist on demeaning Mom as a housekeeper, then you should provide her with proper compensation, divide your assets, and then remove yourself from our lives, Emily added sternly. At Emily's cutting words, my husband seemed momentarily poised to respond, but ultimately hung his head in silence. It was a fitting outcome for a man who had lived selfishly and was now rejected not only by me but also by his own parents and daughter. Listen, you're embarking on the next chapter of your life, aren't you? Let's truly bid farewell this time. Following through with our plans, I sold our former home, divided the proceeds, received a substantial sum for alimony, and began living independently near my daughter's residence. Although Emily had kindly invited me to live with her, I declined, not wanting to intrude on her newlywed bliss and preferring to relish my own peace and solitude. Thanks to his father's connections, my husband found himself living and working on a construction site somewhere. As for his current whereabouts, I have no clue. The catalyst for our divorce, my daughter's wedding, saw me and my in-laws in attendance, but notably absent was my husband. When I received a heartfelt letter from the bride expressing gratitude, saying, "Thank you for raising me like a real mom," tears of joy streamed down my face. I felt a sense of relief knowing I had successfully seen my daughter off into married life. Finally, genuine happiness was within reach, and each day held the promise of true enjoyment.